Hey class, good morning. Good morning, CP Math 1. Today we're going to go through three of the techniques we've been talking about this week, and I have a small practice quiz. So these videos will be embedded in the form, so if you're here, you know where the questions are going to be. So the first technique I want to talk about is this idea of fraction busters. And the idea is that if we have an equation, for example, let's look at 3x over 2 plus 5 x, and I'll say that that equals, I don't know, 7 over 7 halves. If we have an equation and we have fractions in it, we don't have to leave the fractions there, right? That doesn't mean that we're not going to have a fraction for our answer, but we can make it look like there's no fractions initially. So when I look at this equation, there's two denominators. The denominators are the portion of the equation that's down in the bottom, and I can see that the two denominators I have are both the number 2. So if I multiply both sides of this equation by 2, it'll eliminate all those fractions. And I like to kind of show that just by, maybe I'll put some square brackets around this that I'll say I'm just going to multiply everything by 2. If you want, you can also write it as the same as 2 over 1. So the idea is multiply by 2. 2 is going to be pushed into every single numerator, and you don't have to multiply by 1 because it doesn't change anything. So if I look at my numerators, this first fraction was a 3x, but I'm going to put a 2 in there, so it's going to become 2 3x. And then plus, and by the way, that's over 2 still, plus 2 times 5x, and there's no denominator there, equals 2 times 7 over 2. So what's happened effectively, and I don't necessarily need to always write that step, but I want to make sure we see this, is I've created these giant ones, right? There's a 2 over 2 there, there's a 2 over 2 there, so they're gone. So this equation becomes 3x plus, I can write this as 10x equals the number 7. Okay, that's what the equation is. Now, when I combine my like terms, right, when I combine the 3x and 10x, I get that that's 13x is the number 7. And now if I divide both sides by 13, I get that x is 7 over 13. So this is the answer to this equation. Now, I really don't like just writing down answers like that unless I have some opportunity to check it. So when you're in class particularly, or if you have access to a TI-84 calculator, I really recommend using this calculator to just kind of check and see that your work is correct. Whoops. So I am going to do that here. I believe that the answer is 7/13. So I'm going to hit 7 divided by 13. Okay, that's the answer expressed as a decimal. And if I want to, I could express this as a fraction also, but I don't think that's necessary. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the 3x over 2. So I'm going to go 3 times, go grab the x, so that's 3 times x, and then I'm going to divide that by 2, and I'm going to add to that plus, I'm going to say plus 5 times, and I'm going to go grab that number again. And when I hit enter, I should see 3.5, right? 3.5 is 7 halves. And let me press enter, and I do. So just to demonstrate, 7 halves is what I have on the other side. So when I put 7/13 into that equation, it makes both sides of it 3.5. So that is the solution. All right, let's look at another example of fraction buster. So we'll look at I'll do one where I've got maybe an x in the denominator. So I'm going to say 5 divided by 3x plus 4/3 equals, I'll say this is 2 over x. Okay, so lots of denominators here, right? Lots of things are going to get wiped out. When I look at my denominators, one of them has a 3 and an x, right? It's 3 times x, the first one. The next one, 4/3, has a denominator of 3, and the last one has a denominator of x. So what I can do to destroy all those fractions is I can multiply everything on both sides by 3x. So I'm going to go ahead and push factors of 3x across every single numerator. And maybe it's better if I organize my work this way. So I'm going to just write a fraction plus a fraction equals a fraction. My denominators are going to stay exactly the same for now, so I'm just copying my denominators. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push a factor of 3x in each numerator. So I'm going to use this red pen. I'm just going to write a 3x here, a 3x here, and a 3x there. And then let me write the numerators that I had, a 5, a 4, and a 2. So what I can see now is that I literally did push through 3x to every single one of those fractions, right? That factor was pushed across the entire equation. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking at things that got simplified, right? So in the first one, I've got 3x over 3x. That's a giant one. It's gone. The next one, I don't have the x that gets to go away, but the 3 over 3 is gone. And the last one, it's the x over x. So that's gone. What remains is the following equation, right? My first term is the number 5. My second term is x times 4, or 4x. And on the other side, I have just 3 times 2, which is 6. So if I take away 5 from both sides, I get that 4x is the number 1. Therefore, when I divide both sides by 4, x would be 1/4. So again, I have a solution in x is 1/4, and I'm going to make a good attempt to check that. So let me clear this calculator. And again, let me just enter in what I think x is, 1/4. If I wish, it's 0.25. If I wish, I can always display that as a fraction by just hitting the math button. And then the first option there is frac for fraction. So I just press enter, enter. So you can see it displays it as the number 1/4. So I'm going to have 5 divided by, and I'm going to use parentheses here. I'm going to go open parens because I want the whole denominator. 3 times, go grab that 1/4. Got it? Close. So you can see I've got a numerator with the 5 and a denominator with 3 times 1/4 plus, I'll go 4 divided by 3. Okay, so on the one side, I get the number 8. On the other side, it's going to be, you can see it's 2 divided by x. So I'm going to go 2 divided by, and remember x is 1/4, so I can just go grab that. 2 divided by x, there we go. 2 divided by 1/4, and it's also the number 8. So the beauty of this number 1/4, and the reason why it's a solution, is when I use that number, it makes both the left-hand side and the right-hand side equal to the same thing. In this case, they're both equal to 8. So that's the technique that we call fraction busters.